G'day guys, welcome back to another video on the YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going through my January updated team, as it's been a little bit since I actually have done a team update. I did obviously the full team by team previews. If you haven't seen them, go check them out. I go through about their top rookies and just a couple of the players as CBAs who made impact and kick-ins. Pretty basic stuff. Um, but it could be some valuable information in there. And I did a couple pods, like not more than say pods, but a couple of people I really liked. But yes, we'll start cracking in right away into my team. And at D1, my new D1 is Lucky Whitfield. I have basically sold myself on him. Simply put, if we go to here, AFL, we go to January fixture. I'm well aware they've got the early buy. They've got Hawthorn round one. And I just want to bring up here, because from memory, Hawthorn are the easiest team to score against. I could be wrong, but they're not like a St Kilda level, which we'll get to. And like I'll talk about this in a minute, but we go to is team by team average. Plays Hawthorn opening round. Obviously, opening round doesn't count. But if he can score a salt like right on where is that priced at 110, 111, fine. Went 132 in the elimination final. Round one, they have the Bulldogs. If I recall correctly, they're pretty easy to score against. 126, 104 last year. He went 153 at Mars, 137 at Mars. That game's at Marvel. But if you got this is a guy here who just scores 126 versus the Bulldogs. Round two, we know how good St Kilda are for halfbacks. 176 last season at NG. Let's guess where they're playing round two against St Kilda at NG Stadium. Round three, Collingwood. 111, 108. You take that in back-to-back opening rounds. You 100% take that. Then they go into the bye round four, who I believe they only share with St Kilda, and then they go into Richmond. 116, 113. So a bit underwhelming, but ball's probably in the forward half a bit more. But and then they go into Sydney and North Melbourne, who, if we just touch on here, Sydney, didn't get tagged last year and went 111, 110. You take that. That's basically where it's priced at. And this is sort of what you are looking for from a premium. Someone who could go up with their price at, if not better. And I think he's pretty clearly top six. And then North Melbourne played actually underwhelming last year, 99. The year before went 118. And also with him, sort of like post buy, and I believe he also copped an injury or something. Because he missed round 16, round 17. But like sort of post like injuries and all that to 120 average. Like that's not a score we expect him to go much at 176. So we take out that it's still 112. It's still 3-4 points. It's 2-3 points above what he's priced at. I love it. And like I said, I think I believe he's showing that early buy with the Saints, which apart from Flanders, just I don't like. If you have Naz or Sinclair, you can't if you're looking in Naz, you can't have Whitfield. But there's not many other Saints apart from Flanders I actually really like. So Whitfield for me is D1, and then D2 Connor Rosie. I talked about it in my first video, but yeah, should be a lock in most sides. Port, I can't stress this enough. Port having an amazing run. And yeah, so North Melbourne, Essendon, West Coast, Richmond, and even St Kilda. And then on top of this, I'm going Bergman. Yeah. No Colby McKercher. And that is because supposedly been seen training with the mids. North Melbourne is poised to add the midfield turbocharge as budding youngsters Fino Sullivan and Colby coach will spend more time in the on-ball group. Not ideal. And with that, I'm not going there as of yet. If we get word that it was just like a phase, almost like just because we actually want to move in there, that's a bit different, and we'll talk about that. But as of the moment, I don't have him in my team as it is preseason. At D4, simply put, pretty common. There should be a lock in most sides. There is a little bit of a rumour that he might, because of his ball use, may play forward half of the ground on a wing. I don't think it really affects me, or affects him. He's going to get a ball. Like he's priced so low that he's priced like 30k above what like a standard rookie is. Like he's priced at 43. You can't tell me he can't go up like at least a 70, 80. In whatever role he gets, he should be going 70, 80. I really like it. I do want to try and squeeze in another mid price, but value, but we'll talk about that a bit later. And then rookies at the moment, I've got Gibcus. I don't love being key defenders and Lindsay, who I think Lindsay's a great pick. Assuming he's named round one, I think that's a great pick with Farrow. And one is Wakefield on the bench for now. It's a bit more of a beefy bench, but hey, nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's my back line as it stands. Like I said, I'd like to squeeze in another 400, 500k player, which I might. I'm probably gonna do like a rankings of all that. But Colby, we look at him sort of now. I don't mind Salem. I don't know what the role Fletcher Wilmot is. Impey, does he have that ceiling? Short, everyone went there last year, terrible pick. McGrath, maybe midfield minutes. Colby, if he plays a half back, you should probably slot Colby in there, find a way to. Trent Rivers, does he get midfield time? Nick Newman, early buy. Banks, maybe. Weddle, been playing midfield. Dan Houston, we know what he can do. We'll talk about them more in depth, Jordan Ridley. But yeah, definitely something to watch. And for my midfield, as tempted as I am to go Bont, I'm going to stick it out with Zach Butters. I want Bont, but Butters is. We'll talk about Butters. You lock him in, and he just sort of he's almost an automatic C each week. But yes, that's that with Butters. Simply put, if you don't own him, if he's not like 60-70% owned, I'll be shocked. It should be like 80 plus, in all honesty. Bont, I really want Bont, but I'm not sure if I can say he's 706k. I want to. I'm just not sure. I'm gonna pass on him for now. Next one, bit more of a polished type. Well, Noah Anderson here, and this is partly due to their draw, but it is due to their draw. They go Geelong's whatever. They go West Coast Richmond by. The plan will be to move him off on that buy. Now, people will say you're locking into a trade. This is not a good idea. I get where that's coming from. However, if I have to, I'm more than happy to keep him for money. But I think round 3 on the buy, he's 20k cheaper than Matt Rao, and I would make the argument to say I know Matt Rao has a Brownlow to his name, but I really like Anderson's a quality footballer. I don't he's just such a quality footballer, and like we said, they go West Coast Richmond. Went 136 against West Coast. He's got 136 and 151 in 2 of his last 3 games, and Richmond has scored 100 every 105 plus in every single game he's played against them. Yeah, and like didn't dominate the finals as such, but we can sort of see here like post by he got tagged 2 games, yet still was able to get 139, 105. Like 117 and a half, not including finals. If we want to, 115, there's still a bit of value there. But I also just think that in general, he will be the one to really get away. And I think with less stoppages, may work in the favour of someone like a Anderson. Supposedly less stoppages, which we'll talk about because I'm actually it's interesting because I'm about to pick someone who probably thrives with a bit more stoppages. Um, and that is Caleb's wrong. And I still can't put why he fell off last year. Why he had a drop off to 105. And like it could be just simply put he got tagged more. Which if that's the case, then so be it. But as we can see, fell off like a solid 8 points of last season, and uh, and what's that 4 from the year before? And looking at it, like 30 touches, yeah, 28 touches. Like he had what 2 less touches, and 1 less mark, same amount of tackles. Goals, free kicks, 4 free kicks against were the same. Tog was the same. Big thing was disposal efficiency from this year to last, which is probably something. CBA stayed the same. And I don't hate Fremantle's run. Like, like if a team's going into like an excellent run, buy into it. Geelong, Melbourne, Richmond, Adelaide, Collingwood, West Coast. Don't hate that. Um, that game so come around. I was going to say, because that is very enticing. That one Norwood game, 146. That's probably one thing to look at. But yes, went 150 in the one final he played. 35 touch, 59 tackles. Excellent work. But even like he didn't even get like hard tagged. Like he got tagged 3 times last year supposedly. I genuinely think it was just his disposal efficiency. Like he scored a 122 with 46% disposal efficiency. That is unreal. Year before got a lot more tags. I mean, to be fair, it started the year like a house on fire. Like this is obviously 2024. It started 170. I remember having him in all preseason, then trading him out, and then moving him on. I don't want to talk about that. But yes, for me, he has about 5-10 points of upside. Second of a guy has 5-10 points of upside, not only by 2. Is man up on Jai Caldwell. And I've been pretty hot on him. Maybe like his spot's sort of a bit up for grabs. Because like I'll talk about it soon. I bet that like, you know, I've only got one 300k player in here. I wouldn't mind 2. Like in terms like in the midfield. But looking at it, like this is a man that 60. Let's draw a line at about 60% CBAs, whilst also playing like a reasonable tog, right? Like this is a man that like you give him 60% CBAs. Just looking at like obviously like I'm looking at Tog 2, 114 average, 114.7 average. Unreal. Like who's ahead of him in that Essendon midfield? like knowing Brad Scott, right? Because Brad Scott's not a great coach. So they'll play Merritt in there. If they don't, that's almost good. It's almost better. But you think Merritt, Parrish, Caldwell, Durham as your four with Setterfield, McGrath to roll in there. I just don't see a world where he's not at 60% or more this year. I think he is, and like that's a 2-season sample size or 115 average. Just saying. Not saying like he could be like a 108 type of guy, and like 108, this is not like that's top 18. But if he's going at, let's say, the 115-ish mark, if all of a sudden got a top, like near enough to a top 6 mid, priced at 100, same price as like a Will Ashcroft, very similar to Sam Walsh. Because you'll see people pick Walsh and Ashcroft and Errol Golden at 20k more. But I think everyone will overlook Dry Caldwell. Like I said, it's my sort of pod play this year. Next up is Hayden Young. I don't think I did too much talking on it. Should be getting good midfield minutes. And yeah, similar to Sarong, like well, not similar to Sarong as such, but just stay healthy. Gonna stay on the park. And then rookies, I've got Sharp, Sid Draper, Jagged Smith. Like, I'm not too fussed about rookies, but I am also trying to pick good ones, like, because I don't want to get led into a false sense of security with rookies. Because I think that's like a lot of people will pick 119k, 113k, 99k rookies and just be like, oh, yep, nice. When in reality, like last year we saw it, the best rookies were ones that were priced up a bit. Like a Levi Ashcroft, Nathan O'Driscoll, just trying to think who else would it be? Like Murphy Reid, even as a forward. Like, you've sort of got to be careful which ones you pick, because if you miss on a rookie, it's so bad. Like I missed on Connor O'Sullivan last season. I didn't pick him because I didn't really think he would play, nor did I think he'd have a great role. And he didn't have it like a great role, but he just scored well. Now I move on to the rucks, and before we begin, I just want to bring up Vams or Fantasy Nut on X, Fantasy Nut AFL on X. This is all his work, not mine. So I just want so massive credit to him and all this. But so this is pretty interesting. So this chart shows rucks plotted by transition points. So on the axes, and then plotted by transition scoring versus stoppage efficiency points per stoppage. The key takeaways is that not all rucks score in the same way. Some are genuinely all-phase players, whilst others rely heavily on stoppage volume to drive their output. So as we can sort of see, like all phase scorers to score like through transition and through stoppages, volume dependent, like so it's all volume stuff. Stoppage specialists, be simple, and then transition driven, so it's your marks, your kicks, tackles, etc. Big thing that stands out is Tristan Sherry here. 2024 Tristan Sherry, 2025 Tristan Sherry, mainly in that stoppage specialist. And the question is like how many stoppages are we actually losing per game with this new out of bounds rule? I don't think we're losing that many. I think at most we're losing like 6 to 10. Like no one will just the Bulls. I don't think it's gonna happen, and I think teams will likely to sway away from the boundary even more, which means less stoppages, but like and this sort of promotes like, oh, we shouldn't be picking Christian Sherry. I'm still picking Christian Sherry. I still am, even with this. And now this is pretty damning data to say that you shouldn't as such be picking Christian Sherry. And but yeah, that's sort of this is just something I wanted to bring up. This is very very good work by Vams. Has something else on like stoppages are like how does not many and how AFL expressed and then stoppage changes and how it's very similar. So last time they expressed changes was 2015, where stoppages were at an all-time high. 2025 they're at a very similar stage, and then they dropped drastically. And like look at like show like a lot of people like comparing like someone like Shane Mumford went from 94 to 84. This is obviously supercoach and it's obviously fantasy, so would be able to get down to supercoach actually. Just this is a bit of Shane Mumford. So 2015 to 2016. Because obviously Supercoach scoring is more. Yeah, lost 10 points. Now I don't think Mumford and Sherry are the same player, right? But he's probably worth something noting. Um, so 15, 16. I was looking at fantasy. Yeah, dropped about 8 points. Something to watch. With that said, I'm still picking Trishan Sherry. I think a big thing for me with picking Sherry is I do one thing I think impacts Spawn a bit more is who is he hitting to in that Melbourne midfield? Other than Steele, Vine, like Steele's, you can think whatever you think of Jack Steele, he's still going to be a solid player. Jack Viney is still getting on a bit. Pickett, does he spend that much time in the midfield? Windsor and Langford are both young. They lose points there. With Sherry, I just want to highlight his run is Port Adelaide, easy for Rucks. West Coast, easy for Rucks. Essendon, easy with Rucks. Carlton, if I recall correctly, pretty easy. Brisbane, I think I stood about middle ground, but with Darcy Ford or Sam Draper, we'll see. Richmond, pretty easy. JLS, easy. Geelong, easy. Sydney, difficult with Brady Grundy. And Adelaide with Riley O'Brien. But that's an unreal 8 weeks. I love it. So I'm picking Tristan Sherry. And then with that said, my second ruck spot is going to be Tim English. There are not many rucks that will win the 600k I like. There are not many. But he is one at 601. I'm willing to take a bite on. Early buy this, early buy that. Easy team, difficult, easy, difficult, easy, difficult. Probably difficult, easy, relatively middle, difficult. Like, fine with Tim English. He has an excellent ceiling. It's just one thing, like, he doesn't. If I'll just have a look real quick, but I don't think he actually even scores that badly. Like, yeah, he averaged like 100 on the nose, 100 on the nose, 111, I should say. Gee, I don't know why I got a single Jack Calder. But this man has like obviously that 202 is like massively inflated because shit West, but like 138. I think that he has great scores like this where he can just go on like a little bit of like a 5 6 week block 120. He does tend to play poorly though, which is an issue. He has a tendency to sort of stink it up. But all in all, so far, just going to bring him in. Because anything under 600k I do not love. Marshall, you've got KDK there now. Meek, early buy, not really an option. Nate Curvis, they're carrying the Marshall, like O'Brien's, but like there's no one really pushing the ball yet. And that's why I simply thought it could be Max Gore and Tristan Sherry. I'm considering Luke Jackson even. It's Kalani White will slot in at my R3. And for my forward line, F1 will put it out. Well, Shares will put it touch on him. Like it's pretty simply put. F2 Christian Petrarca. It'll be sort of similar to a what's called to an Anderson, where like I sort of will expect to hold Petrarca for the majority of the year. However, with that said, if he plays well and then let's say gets injured over it by like concussion or something, or like something worse, like if he dominates Richmond West Coast, you could just flip him on to like because if you have the ability to, like let's say Sid Draper and Griffin Petrarca, swap that and all of a sudden now you have another primo mid. Just saying. But yeah, like we know what Track can do. Like this man, he went 118 with 66% CBAs, by the way. Just saying. In 2020. Flanders is my next one. But I'm not going to talk about Flanders should win every team. And then what I want to talk about a bit is Sammy Lawler. Bit of its natural progression. Not all of it. It's just who's ahead of him in that Richmond CBA mix? Ferrano, Hopper, no one else. I think at least. He scored 112 in a losing cause. 74 on debut. Like, yeah, he has his four scores because he's a rookie. But it was his first year, but at 300k, roughly 298. Okay. I like the pick. I really do. We're not going to say he's going to be top 6, but like, yeah, that's just. I think he has that natural progression in him, and man, what's stopping him from being like a top 4 mid at Richmond? Now, obviously, like Richmond as a whole aren't great in terms of Supercoach, but Sammy Lawler, 100 average, nah. But you could probably see him like I can see him going at a very very calm sort of like 85 average. That's me. Which is 30 points above. 75, 20 points above. Yeah, I got rookies and rookies quote unquote. Mateus Philippo. It's looked good preseason. Saints TV put him. And he looked really good. And then Devon Robertson with my 2 forward rookies as well. In Sullivan Roby. And then Brady. Obviously rookies are still to play out, but like I said. And then I'm gonna go Sammy Grill. Now I know I sort of ripped into Richmond for not having and I have 4 players. So I guess you'll see. But yeah, that's sort of how I'm looking like at the moment. Whitfield big inclusion, same thing with Anderson and Tim English. Really, like they're the main ones that have really changed. The structure I'm still trying to figure out. Like, do I want another 400k defender like a Nick Newman? If he pops off round 0 and goes like let's say 120, it's hard to look past him. What if Ridley starts well at 420? What if Salem starts well at 494? there's so many options in that sort of range, and then premiums, mids, like, how many do you start with? Do you start bomb butters? That 300K-ish range, like, Young, or like Young Curtains look really good. Wardlaw, Langford, Reed. Does Sanders get more midfield time? Does Brady Hoff get more midfield time? Jago Ramirez been playing off halfback from reports. Does Cam McKenzie get extended midfield minutes? A lot of chat. And then Rucks, it's just simply who you go with. Because you're spending Rucks, it's so annoying, but it just is what it is. Rucks, I've got no clue. And forwards, yeah, we'll see. And forwards, we'll see. But yeah, that is really that. So far, if I would have chucked armbands on, I like an Anderson versus like Anderson